Hey guys, Solomon here. I hope you are having a great day. In today's video, we go over a very underrated response, one that I wasn't particularly super aware of. I've seen it, but I didn't really realize the full gravity of how powerful this opening was for the D4 player against the Dutch defense. Let's take a look. If you're a D4 player and you're having a hard time with the Dutch, you've played the Staunton, you've played all these different things, watch this video. You might gain something from it. Okay, we're playing as white. We have this move of D4. F5 is played. We now play bishop G5 with the Hopton Attack. Okay, now with our opponent playing black, right? There's so many different things that black can think about, right? The Stonewall Dutch, the Leningrad Dutch, the classical Dutch. There's so many different things. This eliminates a lot of different setups, right? Because there's, first off, the Stonewall. I mean, trying to move your pawns like this, to E6, D5, and C6, that's just not going to work. I mean, we're pinning that pawn, okay? Playing E6 and getting your bishop to E7, that's not going to work, right? The only thing that you can try to do in this case, if you're not going to bring your knight out right away, is play G6 and fianchetto your bishop, which we'll take a look at that. But all that to say, I mean, this move immediately eliminates a lot of black's setups as a Dutch defense player, okay? So all that to say, when we play this move of bishop G5, what are the most popular moves that we see in online chess? Well, let's start out with this move of knight F6. What do we do against this? I recommend taking. Now, if E takes F6, you'll see here that we're going to play the move of E3, okay? But let's say they take with the G pawn. In this case, we're going to play E4. Why is that? Well, the second that the opponent plays the Dutch defense, they are weakening their short side diagonal. Now, if they know what they're doing, they're going to be fine. But in this case, they weakened it with the F pawn, and they took with the G pawn and made another F pawn. Because of that, we can play E4. And if you take checkmate, we just won this game at move 5. Okay. And going back, if they see this and they play a move like D6, I mean, we're still winning here. We still get the check, right? We still take with check on F5. We drop our queen back. We're up a pawn, and you have a king on D7. Okay, so the second that G takes F6 is played, play E4. We're attacking this. We're threatening that. You can't stop both. You're going down a pawn, or you're about to lose the game. Okay. All that to say, bishop takes F6. Now, let's say E takes F6 is played. Much better move. Now, E4, this is not good now, right? Because of the fact that instead of taking with the G pawn, the E pawn captured. So this is the difference. Now, if we check, they do have a blocker, right, with G6, and our queen can't even check again unless we want to. I mean, I guess we could, but we'd lose the queen. So all I have to say, yeah, I mean, bishop takes F6, E takes F6 has to be played. If you do see this sound option, just play a move like E3, right? D5 is popular. I'm showing you moves that are popular from black in online chess. These are the moves that are being played the most. Okay, we have this move here of C6. Let's develop our knight. You can play C5. C5 is a very good option here for white, gaining space. Notice that our light squared bishop has a bunch of dark squared pawns aimed this direction, which is great. The bishop doesn't even know those pawns are there, okay? Black's bishop, on the other hand, this bishop is trapped behind a ton of light squared pawns. Maybe someday it can get active on H5, but let's just say our bishop's going to be a lot better than theirs for quite a while. Okay, B6, let's say we see something like B6. Okay, support the pawn. A5, okay, support the pawn. We're fine, okay? If they take on C5, we'll take back. If they want to take on B4, we take back. Guess what? If you take on C5, you're losing your rook. If you trade rooks, we take with the queen. We're just going to keep taking towards the center of the board, and we have a great space advantage here. I think a move like bishop D3 is a good option. Knight F3 might look like a natural move, but I would also say that this pawn is kind of slowing that knight down a little bit, right? So I actually think a better way of playing this is bishop D3, knight G, E2, and then looking at this F4 square, right? Attacking that bishop. I think E2 and F4 is a great way to go about this with the knight. Castle kingside and this rook, we're going to put this rook on B1. When playing chess, we don't want to just think about right now. We want to think about potentiality. Okay, where would I want my pieces to go? And it's not always about hard calculation, like I go here, they go here. Sometimes it's just like, okay, in 5 or 6 moves, can I get my rook here? Can I do that? The answer is yes, right? 1. Okay, obviously the bishop doesn't move like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the rook comes over 5. Boom. Of course, black can do things to try to get in the way of that, but in this kind of position, I'm not sensing that much counterplay from black. So when you can improve your pieces, do it, okay? That is my message to you in that area. Now going back to bishop G5 again, if knight F6, I mean, we can take. That's fine, okay? This move of H6 is also very popular. And following bishop h4, g5 is extremely popular as well. But I do want to mention, if we see this move of knight f6, we can still take this knight. If g takes, we're still playing e4. And guess what? If e takes, we could play this move of e4, but I think the e3 is actually, more of a sound option here. And if black's not careful, we still have this check, right? This is a very weak short side diagonal. I mean, you can block with the pawn, but we're just going to take it. Okay, so black has to play g6 before we get there, right? They have to play h5 or g6 right now. But okay, now we play c4. We're going to keep naturally developing. Black has some pretty advanced pawns, and right now they're pretty clumped together, which is nice, but they are a little bit advanced. I think this is going to be a hard position for black to play with in the long run because of that. Hey guys, I really quickly wanted to tell you about something that we've been working on for over a year. I have partnered with Coastline Creative, and we have come out with some exclusive Chess Giant merch. Okay, we got t-shirts, hoodies, tote bags, and more. And if you're interested in getting 10% off, all you got to do is go to my website, okay, and on there you'll get invited to join my email list. Join my email list, and I will send you the discount code there. On top of that, if you want to get 20% instead of 10%, all you got to do is become a supporter on my Patreon. Become a patron, and you will get 20% off of all Chess Giant merch in the future. Okay, I hope you guys like the designs. Let me know what you think of them down in the comment section below. Let me know any ideas that you have for future, clothing ideas, design ideas, and all that kind of good stuff that we can put on the site. And yeah, let's get back to the video. Going back to bishop h4, let's say they don't play knight f6 and they play the move of g5. Now here, I recommend e3. Okay, I recommend playing e3. e4 might look tempting. It turns out that it's not really sound after bishop g7. I mean, it is sound in the sense that we're not losing, but according to the engine, e3 is simply a better move here. Okay. Now, here, if a move like bishop g7, we can play bishop g3. And because of this pawn on e3, we don't have to worry about f4 stuff. That square is guarded. Okay. Knight f6, that's fine. We'll play bishop g3. By the way, guys, if they take, we win, right? So they can't take. If they play g4, we have an amazing bishop, and g4 is extremely weak. I mean, what are we doing here? Okay, knight f6 is played. Drop that bishop back. Here we can play a move like h4. Just start trying to make some weaknesses here. Put some pressure on black. If they push, let's develop. I think knight c3 is a good option here. There's no real target yet on d5 to go after. And if they do play d5 here, the e5 square is weak. I also think having this knight here, it puts a little bit more of a barrier for this dark squared bishop, which is probably black's best piece right now, at least in terms of the potential of that piece. And okay, let's say we see a move like d6, trying to control some dark squares, because, I mean, let's face it, they're really controlling the light squares, but that's about it up to this point. We have knight g2, right, going for f4. If you want to play knight h5, that's fine. We're still going to play knight f4. If you take, we take back with the bishop. Solid game there for white. If you want to take on g3, we take back with the f pawn. And I mean, this knight's sitting pretty comfy. Okay, it might seem like white might have to run into e5, but if black plays this, we have knight g6. You want to bring the rook over, bishop c4, slicing and dicing, your rook is trapped. If you play rook h7, we still play bishop c4, trying to bring that bishop to g8. And yeah, white's around +1 here, over +1, okay? So all that to say, this move of h6, right? Don't be scared of it. Just bring this bishop back, okay? Bring that bishop back. If you see g5, you can play e4 there. I think a more sound move, though, is e3, so that if they do play bishop g7, you can drop your bishop back and it's not going to get trapped. Yeah, I mean, from here, if the knight develops, again, bishop back, let's start going after those overextended pawns. Space is generally considered to be a good thing, but if you make too much space without proper piece support, those pawns just become a big old weakness. Files and diagonals start to open up, and the opponent playing against all the pawns that are pushing and pushing, they're going to start seeing some open lines and some opportunities there. So let's go back. We have this move, bishop g5. What else could we see? G6 is also a move that is played quite a bit. I could definitely see this from Dutch players that usually go into the fianchetto knight f6 castle and kingside idea. If you do see g6, first off, you can just play e3. That's fine. Like, e3 is a fine move. You can develop this knight. You can throw this. There's a lot of good moves here. I just want to throw out this move of e4. Now, technically, if you look at the engine, it's giving us a dead even or maybe like slightly better position for black, like minus 0.08 or something like that. But you're going to have the advantage in prep. And I actually think that this position is better than the Staunton. It's more dangerous for the white side. Okay. We play e4. We're putting pressure on that pawn. The only move here for black that gives them an even game. Everything else, white has a clear edge. F takes e4. What do we do here? Again, there's some options. We could play c4. We could play knight c3. I'd probably recommend trying out f3, just putting some pressure on that guy. Okay. Let's say here, we'll go over what happens if they take. But let's say here, you know, black plays a move like h6. Well, we could just drop our bishop back. That's fine. You really can't keep kicking this bishop around. If you do, we take. You can take our bishop all you want. Game over at move 7. Going back to f3. If you play a move like d5, trying to defend the pawn, we can take and then keep attacking it. The second you defend it, there's a couple of different ways that we can go about this. I mean, we can take here and then just capture on e4 immediately, evening out the material. We can also take the more, you know, slow burn approach to this and play a move like knight ge2, bringing it to g3 and just adding more and more pressure on this double isolated pawn. We could play a move like queen d2 and look to castle queenside soon. All that to say, this is a fun position for white to work with. Black is up a pawn, but they're not going to be up that pawn forever. And in fact, if you want to win that pawn back right away, you can. Just take that knight and go from there. Okay, take that knight, take on e4. Yeah, if queen e7, just be ready to match that energy with queen e2 and go from there. And finally, when we look at this move of f3, okay, let's say we see a move here like e takes f3. In that case, let's capture back with the knight and let's just start rapidly developing. Bring that bishop out, castle kingside, knight out. I'm actually a big fan in this case of queen e1 and queen h4, kind of a grand Prix attack type idea, really activating our queen and also opening up this e1 square for our queenside rook, which is great. And yeah, I mean, this is a really hard position for black to play. There's so many ways that black can blunder this game away. On top of that, white does have a positive evaluation despite being down material, which shows you we have quite a bit of compensation. And what's the most popular move in online chess? e5. All of a sudden, it's around +2 for white. That's the most popular move online. White's doing well here. Okay. We have a couple of good moves here. One of them is bishop c4 check first, and then knight d5. We could just play knight d5 right away. The issue here is not that we're threatening to win this knight. In fact, right now we're not. We have 3 attackers. They have 3 defenders. The issue is, how does black solve this? Right? How do they solve this problem? I mean, if the queen moves, we have more than enough attackers. I mean, if something like h6, in that case, we could probably play bishop c4, eyeing up this king, right? If bishop e6, we take, that bishop is going to fall off. If, king h8 or something, by the way, you're not even threatening to take our bishop anymore. There's so many moves here for white that are great. And yeah, I mean, it's just hard to play. Okay, so after the move of e5 again, we can play knight d5. h6 doesn't really solve your problems. A move like bishop e6, again, bishop c4, we're fine, right? We're threatening to take this. We're putting pressure on this guy as well. If you want to take, which is the computer recommendation, we're still over +2 here, king h8. We can now take on c6. And again, we've had so much pressure on this knight. Now we only have 2 pieces because we gave up our knight, but we now play knight d2. Beautiful idea. Looking to reroute this knight to e4. We now have 3 attacking pieces on this knight. You have 3 defenders. Now, when we're attacking a piece, we have to have 1 more than the defending side. If we're defending and it's 4-4, we're good. But if you're attacking, you need to have +1. In this case, it's dead even, but we do have a knight on the way. How do you stop it? By playing d5, but if you do that, we take the pawn. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, black here is just dead lost. And if you run out of the way, then, yeah, we just take a piece. And we have a good game there. Okay, so all that to say, just wanted to throw that Hopton attack on your radar. If you're a d4 player against the Dutch, f5, bishop g5, this can ruin so many different plans and setups that black has, right? The Stonewall, if black wants to go into an e6, knight f6, bishop e7, that just can't happen. Okay, the second we have knight f6 on the board, guess what we're doing? We're taking. And the whole Dutch structure is kind of messed up already. And this is the kind of position where if you keep playing this and playing this and playing this, every time you see a Dutch defense player, you're going to be more comfortable than they are. due to the fact that they're probably not seeing this very much. Okay, if you're a Dutch defense player, I am curious. I haven't played the Dutch much. I am curious how often you see this Hopton Attack and what you play against it. Does this kind of ruin your plans, or have you found a way to kind of work your way around it? Let me know in the comment section below. At the end of this, I really wanted to give a big shout out to my guy, Tyler, a great YouTube channel, a student of mine, and he actually recommended this video to me. And yeah, I mean, he brought this Bishop G5 move on my radar. I've seen it, but again, I wasn't aware. I hadn't really fully looked at it yet. I knew that it ruined a lot of setups, but I mean, this is a very dangerous line that really gives Dutch defense players quite a bit of trouble. Okay, so again, shout out to my guy Tyler. He has an amazing YouTube channel. I highly recommend it. On his YouTube channel, he's not claiming to be some kind of GM or something. He is simply in the process of improving his game, going over his wins, going over his losses. And for you beginner/intermediate players, this could be a good channel for you to kind of go relate with someone who's in the process of improving, and also talking through, tips, strategies, and kind of themes that you can work on to take your game to the next level. I'll leave a link to his YouTube channel in the description below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace. Hey, thanks for watching today's video. I really quickly wanted to give a shout out to my Patreon community for the month of March in 2024. I appreciate you all a ton. And yeah, if you guys are interested in joining the Patreon community, becoming part of that family, I highly recommend that you go check it out. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.